Australia Autodidactic. How you going, buddy?
Good. Awesome.
Campbell, I noticed you've got a snazzy t-shirt
Oh,
on there.
it's pretty snazzy. Whee!
Woo! That's right, Campbell. We've realized that Campbell and
Of
I
course,
have
available
like
at our store.
yeah, we've made all these amazing t-shirts. Like it's been a big love of ours on Tartaria Australia to actually put some artwork behind all these amazing ideas that we're sort of program busting. And at the Brisbane event, I saw so many cool people wearing the t-shirts, and they look fantastic. Actually, in real life, they look amazing. And yeah, so I thought, far out, we haven't even worn them. I haven't quite worked out how to wear a t-shirt yet, so I'm gonna put one on and cut some up and do some alterations. But I'm
Yeah,
really excited to see you
that's
wearing one.
but,
It's
but yeah, so if you can help
exciting.
Curl dress itself,
Yeah. So
we
Campbell,
need a fashion, we
today
need a fashion move.
we thought it's time to do one of our theory of everything so far podcast, where we sort of take everything we've talked about over the last, I think the last time we did one of these was about 3 months ago. So we're going to like basically bring it all together and summarize everything we've been kind of theorizing on so far. Now, one of the things we love about Tartaria Australia is that Campbell and I really just allow our conversation to intuitively take us to questioning and our theory and leading us to new theories and sort of bringing the evidence together. And we really love that side of how we sort of put our thought process together. And this is sort of our summary of all of those theories so far. Now, we don't progress to say that we know everything, because we do know nothing. Like, we know that we know nothing. That's what we know, right? We know after all this that we fucking know fuck all. But we
Yeah.
do enjoy letting our intuition and imagination guide us through this this reality and trying to figure out what the hell is going on, brother.
It is. Yeah. I mean, and that's the biggest thing, right? We sort of started with, history's not quite what we've been told, and now we're at what the hell is reality? Where are we?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
Because as we
Yeah.
get further down the line, more and more just falls apart, and we
Yeah.
see that more and more it's
Yeah.
just a program,
Yeah.
literally, that they've got us to believe. And we're in this weird sort of collective dream, right? Because we all, well, not all of us, but the majority agree on stuff,
Yeah.
right? And that makes it more solid and more real in this whatever we're in, right? So that's where we come in, and we're trying to say, well, maybe not. We don't
Yeah.
agree. Let's see if we can change it.
I mean, it's quite startling if we look back on the last 2 years, Campbell, how fast and quick this context, this narrative has progressed, and how far it's gone. Starting with just looking at sort of like questioning the buildings themselves, right through to like how they got there, who did them, what happened to the resets, to the missing people, to the timelines and the fuckery with the time, to basically looking at everything we've ever been taught through our concept of who we are and where we came from and how we got here. So it's really been quite amazing to watch. And really, at this point, we're talking about millions of individuals' consciousness really being focused in on this topic. And to start from scratch, Tartaria has arisen as a term, I guess, to like denote this narrative, this consciousness. It's gone far past the concept of there being a culture or a race called the Tartars. It's like gone into its own sort of, it probably at this point belongs in the dictionary as a movement over a sort of a people or a race. So it's pretty amazing to have watched
Mm.
it grow. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, the old crew, Graham Hancock's and all those, the megalithic people,
Yeah.
right? But they were actually able to look at things that weren't megalithic, and people didn't start yelling at them. It's just a word, guys. It's Tartaria. And I mean, check out the etymology. There's some good videos out there where they actually go in and go right into the history and the etymology. And Tartaria, that's got a lot more meaning than you would think, that's
Yeah.
tied to what we're talking about. So it seems to be this, enigmatic kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Which is this is reality, right? We always kind of find these things, and they're not what we think, and there's all this information behind them. But you get these concepts and there's something to it, but you can't see it. It's not physical, but I think that's what Tartaria, you just keep going down. It just keeps expanding, and there's more in there,
Yes.
And a lot of people just go, give me a book. What do the experts say? Bugger that, and they miss the whole thing.
Yeah,
miss the whole thing.
Yeah, agreed. I know many people say, why don't you guys just interview some, historians, some experts in the field? Like, surely they would know, surely they would like have come across this. But the reality is, like, that is just not the case. Like, anyone who was actually within that sort of professional, sponsored by a university or education facility historian, because that's really the only way you can be a full-time historian. You're just like basically being paid to continue a program. And like for like 90% of those individuals, they don't even know, they're not thinking about, they don't even know that this even concept even really exists, let alone to start to apply it to their information. So and the ones that sort of did actually start questioning, they've just been fired, like defunded, depublished, deplatformed, So it's not like Cambell and I can just sit out there and go, hey, let's call up blah, 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 this historian, and see if they'll do an interview with us, because that like access isn't really available. We are the historians now.
What's the point? Yeah, exactly. Like, what's the point? They're the gatekeepers, and it's not necessarily that they want to be or that they know they are, but they do their study, and everyone tells them, "Oh, you're so smart. Yeah, you're the man. Yeah, and then you should be, teaching this, right? Putting your information onto the next generation, pass the program down."
Yeah.
But they're just out there thinking they're doing the right thing, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's the expert." But they're just gatekeepers, right? As we know, we can't go to, go Beckley Tepe and start digging around because we haven't been through the university. So we'll ask too many questions. So that's where we are. It's like we could get these people and talk to them, but all they're going to do is reiterate the story we know is false.
Yes.
So what's the point? And we're definitely not going to change their points of view, are we? I mean, it's not like someone's going to come on an interview with us and go, "Oh, really? Oh, I had it all wrong," and say something and lose their whole career. Because this is what will happen. They would get fired. Like if they said, "Yeah, history's wrong," clearly, bang.
And I mean,
used to the system anymore.
That's true of everyone who works for the NASA and everyone who works with sort of the scientific sort of like, pathways that lead to that sort of, space time continuum, and, basically across all of those really educated expertise. You're looking at basically people like innocently so much of the time, ignorantly, definitely, just going along with the program and never thinking to question it. So yeah, I mean, but hey, look, if you're out there and you are considered a historian, oh my God, I would love to talk to you. It'd be amazing. Cambell and I would absolutely enjoy having a really frank conversation, comparing what you know to what we know. That would be a really cool thing to do. So if you're out there, if you're watching this, then like you'd be someone ready to talk to us.
If you've already lost your career or something, you got nothing else to lose, talk to us.
That's right.
But that's the thing, we understand that they risk a lot. But if there really is anyone in that boat, definitely send us an email and we'd love to compare notes.
So Cambell, here we are. Right, so our theory of everything so far, buddy. Yes. I mean, we've got to start. Like, I mean, we have got to start at the pinnacle of the context that we're at, which is we are living a simulation, and that potentially history never even existed. Like, that is a possibility that history, everything we know about history, say pre the last reset, is actually a program. It's actually not even a physical manifestation, but a program designed to give us a sense of linear space-time, I guess. It's like, so I mean, I think that's probably the top narrative at this point. Like, we've gone through history looking at it genuinely as if, yes, it's been fucked with, but it was real, that it existed at some level. Yes, we can't place the Egyptians, we can't place the Romans, we can't place whole, civilizations. They've been kind of edited and spliced in and cut into this movie, if you like, this this radio station, if you like. But actually, if it's a simulation, we have to really look at the idea that that simulation was always a simulation, and history, as we know it, was never a physical manifestation, that it simply was inserted program into our consciousness as to give us some sense of placement on this realm. Like, that's pretty mind-blowing, Cambell.
Yeah, I mean, I've sort of thought for years, where did all this information come from? Are we creating it? Am I, by the fact that I'm looking for a stuff, what am I creating that? Searching your finds and all this kind of stuff. We are creators. So that's kind of where I started, and I was just, for years, I was just kept rolling this around, and it eventually it came to the question of is any of this even real?
Yeah.
Or is it just a background? Like you said. So, if you take the concept of a video game, right? When you go into a video game, you have a background story, right? If it's Mario, you're in Mario world, right? If it's whatever, a first-person shooter game, you might be in the Vietnam War. There's this always a background, right, to give you a sense of where you are, why you're there, a background story of why you're actually where you are. Mm-hmm. And also, it just gives, time and space and all this kind of extra information to the story, but it doesn't mean it's actually part of the story.
Yeah.
So it could just this could literally be a background. And we've spoken a lot about, if we raise our vibration, will all this, Tartaria, as we're calling it, all this infrastructure, will it come back to life, right? Will it actually become back, but, will we match its frequency? So this, is it an overlay put there, as something for us to remember, so it's like a like a marker, right? When we see it, we remember something from where we've been, and so it's put there as that to help us grow. Or is it just put there to make us think, well, the powers that be, they've always been in power, so just shut up and do what you're told, right? But I mean, it's probably both, right?
Almost like some vague instructions, like some coding. Like I love the analogy of the video game, because I've never played video games. It's not something I've ever delved into, but enough people around me have, and I understand the theory of it, which is you step into a world that's got a backstory, that's got characters written into it, that's got goals and ambitions, that's got levels to go through and challenges, that has landscapes and backgrounds, literal backgrounds, so that you get lost in the game. And our reality seems to be exactly the same. We've been given a backstory, and we've spent the last couple of years tearing that backstory apart. And I think if we were in Mario Land tearing apart the backstory, how quickly would the backstory fall apart? Because, it's not like that backstory was written to compete with, 10 million people trying to debunk it. Like, if 10 million people are trying to debunk a backstory, the evidence will keep showing itself over and over and over again. And definitely in the last 2 years, as more and more people's consciousnesses played out on this, Cambell, I mean, we can attest, right? When we Googled something 2 years ago, there was, and then compared to now, the content that comes up now compared to then is just dramatically different. Things that we would never have missed if we saw them 2 years ago. But suddenly they're just on page 1 of Google when we type in a search, the internet itself is responding to the consciousness, delivering the information, and more people means the backstory is just fully fucking fallen apart. And as a result of that, we've got to question, is the backstory actually a physical manifestation, or is it actually just written into the program? How many, and we think about it, the way they did it was so fucking cool. Hello, they put us all in school. They put us all in school, man. 12 years of school, 10 years of school, and we just got taught about the backstory. And if you're a smart kid, or if you hadn't just were born not so programmable, you would question it back then. And I did. I was like, I don't get it. Where did the Egyptians go? That was my question at school. I don't get what happened to these amazing pharaohs, these huge kingdoms and kings. They just literally, we go to school the following week, we turn a page in the textbook, and we're onto the Romans. And there's no like, there's no content. And that is literally how we got taught about history. We go to school one week. Here it's all, we do our assignment, we turn the page, new chapter, and we're on to the assignment on the Romans. Like that was the first time I started thinking about it. And now, bring us to now, and we're looking at a collapsed, I would say, a collapsed backstory. Characters that no longer appear real, that do actually appear like 2D as if they were in a video game. History that makes no sense. And all we've really got tangible evidence of is these buildings that have been integrated into our culture. And we can pretty much, like attribute those buildings to the only civilization, literally the only civilization we could take as being potentially physically manifested on this realm. Ever. Like, what evidence do we have outside of that?
Well, we don't, as I've said before, there's no way you can prove that we didn't just turn up, an hour ago or whatever, 10 years ago with all these, memories implanted, right? We can't prove any of that. And to add, obviously, everything we know about history is books, right? Written by man and paintings. Yep. So we can't really verify any of it. But another point is, if it is a simulation or a game, you can imagine the person writing the program would put most of the effort into the present, right? Mm-hmm. So they wouldn't put as much detail and effort into the past, into this sort of scenery, background story. And that's kind of, why it's so easy to rip it apart, right?
Yeah.
Because they've done it there. And if you don't question it, it kind of makes sense, right? If you just kind of see, and go along with the story, it kind of makes sense. But as soon as you start looking at it, it's like, no, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Why is the past so dodgy? Is it just because they've cut it up and done that, or is it because it's just literally a program? We're just in, because who knows, right? Maybe we lost the last level. Maybe we dropped from level 3 to level 2, and level 3 is Tartaria, and that's just our backstory to prompt us to go back up. And it's a good way to do it because only certain people see it, right?
Yeah.
Like the masses, they see, and we see it, right? We go, why is that building so big? Look at the size of the doorway. And some people, a little percentage, go, wow, and they look into it, and the rest are like, you guys are crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, if you think about it, it has taken us and everyone out there who's bothered to get passionate about this topic, we've literally dedicated hours and weeks and months to tearing this apart and understanding it. Like, think about most people. They go to school, they get the backstory, and that's it's done. It's done. They don't have time or are not inclined to be interested in asking any other questions about it. To them, it's just like, how does it affect my life? Like, how is this going to impact on my life? And, so it does take a certain creed, a certain bloodline, a certain DNA pattern, which seems to be, within this tribe itself, who actually think, hang on a minute, what's the fucking point of doing anything but understanding why we're here and what the fuck is going on? Like, it really is a different, when you get very busy being successful or just surviving this reality as it is, like, or very busy playing the game. That's a better way to put it. Very busy playing the game. Then when would you have time or inclination to even start like asking these questions? You're just rushing by them, you're rushing by. And playing that game, it is so much like Donkey Kong or Mario. You're just going after that gold coin, right? It's just that chase to that gold coin. Like, and if you get really good at chasing that gold coin, like, that's your focal point. Like, all of this is nothing. This is irrelevant information. Like, it appears to make no difference to one's actual life. However, for me, it is like the only reason we are here. Like, we are here to bring this backstory, to collapse it. We're here to collapse it. We're here to collapse it and lead a pathway through this game in a completely different manner. Like, as in, step back from the game, step back from all the distractions of the game and the stresses of the game, and actually look at what this container is that we're all sitting in here. No memory of where we came from, no memory of who we are, no idea why we sleep, no idea why we dream, no idea about basically anything, no idea of the sky, the oceans, the understanding of the shape of the earth. We literally, when you scrape it back, know fucking nothing.
Yeah, man. We don't. We're infants, right?
We know nothing of what's around us. I should say that we know nothing of what we sit in.
Yeah, it's like, the concept of NPCs. And I think Jason explains it well. He's like, you see this in the evolution of games. They started off as a sign, right? Not a person. It would be, click here to get your hammer or whatever, right, that you need. Then it would turn into a person who's holding the hammer, and you'd walk up and they'd give it to you. And then the next thing is the person's walking around the forest and you got to go and find them before they give you the hammer. So what it kind of looks like, if we go off that concept, it's like people are starting to believe they're the NPCs and they're acting like them, right? So they're walking around the forest looking for someone to give a hammer to, and they think that's who they are. But we have all these stories in the, and of course, they're just stories in the past of all these gods, right?
Yeah.
These people who came down and weren't NPCs, right? They were just doing whatever, right? They were playing their game. So it's like, we can look at this, are there NPCs and are they just there to sort of help us with the game and the background, and we're supposed to be the characters? Because I'm thinking about, and you'll have no idea what I'm talking about here, but there's a game called World of Warcraft, and it's this massive, like, people can play together, right? Literally, you can go in there with, a group of friends and you all run around and do this, the same stuff together. But in this game, you'll go into a town and there's all these people, and they're out and they're farming and they're running the shops and they're selling all this stuff. But and you can interact with them, right? But that's not you. You're the hero in the game. So it's like a lot of people have forgotten they're the hero and they've become the NPC, right? They're just running out this program. And so maybe we're here to say, hey guys, you're the hero.
How would you distinguish? How would you determine, Campbell, how to be a hero, or how to get caught up as the sort of in the background reality? Like, what's the determining variables there?
Well, I mean, I guess this is the thing, right? And it's a program, and this is the variable we don't know. What is it that makes some people see something different? This is the thing we don't know. Are we different, and are they the program? Yeah. Is one thing. Is everyone who's waking up an actual, whatever you want to call it, spirit or whatever, and everyone who's not and who's fighting against it, they're the NPC, because all they want is they just want the game to keep going. Right? It's like, believe the game, believe it's a game, believe it's a game, believe it's a game, and really the game is supposed to be just a backdrop, right, for us to run around and experience stuff and to grow and learn and have fun. But people have been conned. They've gone to school and sat down and had 12 years of going, no, you're the baker, no, you're the NPC, you're the dude, in the bar, and they're like, oh, okay, and they believe it.
Yeah.
But then that's why we have this phenomenon of waking up, because we wouldn't have waking up if everyone, who was an NPC was just an NPC, if you know what I mean. So clearly we're dealing with this.
Do you think that do you think there's a difference in the DNA? Do you think there's something like, I mean, I know for myself and most of my, friends who are engaged in this sort of consciousness or whatever, not just Tartaria, but anyone who's sort of questioned anything. And, they'd started questioning pretty young. Like, they were sort of, looking for answers pretty young in their lives. They may not have understood how, insanely deep this is, but, definitely questioning, wanting to understand, maybe reaching for those theological books or reaching for those spiritual contexts, is sort of wanting to go a bit deeper and like genuinely from the get-go interested in who are we, why are we here, what is this all about, Is there some difference in the biology or the DNA, or is biology even relevant? Like, is there something different in the programming? Like, were we deliberately put here less programmable in order to make this shift? Like, are we part of the virus protection? Are we part of the malware? Are we part of the software that's counteracting this, this virus that's been like spread through I mean, that's another thing. Like, we're talking our theory so far. Like, we have to acknowledge there is definitely some form of virus hijacking, something that is a parasitic energy that has definitely corrupted our simulation, which to me is why we don't remember anything. I mean, I think that's why. Like, what are your thoughts?
What would we remember, and would it even be useful?
Yeah.
You know, could you play the game properly, you know, as, you know, understanding fully, you know, that you're this other being? I mean, that kind of wouldn't make sense. You know, it's like when you go into a game, you go in as the character, right?
Yeah.
You're not sort of playing as I'm a human who, you know, everything's in the game. So, I mean, I think it definitely looks like a game, doesn't it? And I think that this overlay, this program is what's making people think they're part of the game, right? Instead of there to play the game. So definitely, and as far as I'd say that we're receivers, you know, we don't, you know, there's this concept of people think they think in their brain or whatever, but, you know, we actually receive, right? Receive information, and that's based on our DNA, because that's the signal we give out, right?
Yeah.
DNA to the brain, right? Receiver. And so, yeah, like I would think if we're different, it's going to be a DNA thing, because everything's frequency and your DNA is a frequency. So are we getting different information, right, sent down to us than the NPCs, or are they getting any information sent down, you know? Because with this mind wipe thing, it happens with dreaming too a lot, doesn't it? A lot of people go to sleep and they wake up and they're like, I don't remember my dreams. And other people are like, oh, I remember every dream. They're amazing.
Yeah.
And it's just like when we come into the world, right? Some people don't remember anything, and some people are like, oh, I remember my past life. I'll take you to the house.
Yeah. I mean, because we look at these buildings, you know, a big part of Tartaria is to understand that they're all machines, and they were basically antennas. They were basically deriving, you know, the energy from the ethers. So, you know, but ultimately, are they just a metaphor for us? Are we the machines that are the antennas? Are we the living Tartarian culture? Is it our biological vehicle? Are the buildings just a not a you know, are the buildings like a what's the word I'm thinking of? Yeah, like they're just sort of like there to remind us of what actually we are. Like, is it us? You know, we spend a lot of time looking at history, at this culture, at the buildings, at the people, the research, blah, blah, blah. And yet, how often do we actually understand and look at us? Like, we're here, we're in this game, we acknowledge it's a game, so we know we're players in this game. We know that there's a parasitic energy that's corrupted this game. We know that we're here to break this game apart. We know that we're driven to do that. We can't help ourselves. There's no way we can turn off from this. Like, I could never stop. I could get tired and have a break, but I could never, ever stop wanting to like pieces together. It's almost outside of myself, you know? Like, so am I just a walking Tartarian machine? Am I just a walking Tartarian antenna? Is the bell my voice? Is the water, we talk about the 90% of what this biological vehicle is made of? Is the mud flood, you know, the actual like the forgetfulness around us, you know, that we don't, like we don't know who we are. We don't know. I mean, it's just all theory.
That's a great analogy, you know. That's the thing, you know. Bringing inspiration down from above, you know, turn yourself back into an antenna. And that's also being open, right? If you think you know everything, then you're not receiving any new information. You know, you have to ask questions and be open to it. So, yeah, this is, you know, we're supposed to be the cathedrals, right? Getting in the good energy and then walking around and giving it out, right? Because that's what you become. Obviously, when you do that, it changes, you know, the water structure in your body. We've seen that. So, yeah, and I'm sure that, you know, see, Tartaria is real somewhere. We just don't know where, right? So wherever it's real, I'm sure it was looked as fractals, right? We're just a fractal down from the machine, the cathedral. And then that's just a fractal down from, you know, the realm, right, which is getting inspiration from wherever, right? So I think that's the way to look at it, is we're definitely, you know, we're part of this well, not part. We need to, if we learn how to play the game properly, then we'll be fine, right? If we understand that we're the hero and we can get whatever we want, and because all they're trying to do is cut off that connection, just like they did to the cathedrals. They went and ripped all the bells out, right? To turn them off.
So they ripped all
They
ripped all the bells off, but in metaphor to us, they censor our speech. They censor our tongue. They censor our understanding
singing.
of words and singing and the expressions that are, the tones, the frequency, the tonality, the cymatics. Well, we hardly know anything about it. We don't speak in those tongues anymore. Our tongues have literally been cut out. Hello, the Tower of Babylon as a metaphor. So our bells were removed, if you like. Our water's corrupted with all this poison that we have to put into ourselves with food and air and water. Our antennas have been damaged. The technology removed. That could be basically a metaphor of a DNA, something with our DNA being altered or shifted or changed. But our ability to generate that power. So many times growing up in my life, and then throughout my adult life, I had so many recollective memories of blue light coming out of my hand. I had so many images of holding up my hands and balls of blue light being able to blast out of my hands. Very Lord of the Rings-esque, is that the damaged technology in me if I look at myself as a Tartarian building? Because, Campbell, the other thing we've got to say is we only know about this culture via what's been left in the background. We don't know about the people or the language or the culture. We don't know. We don't even know if they ate food. We don't know if they slept in beds. We don't know if they lived in the skies or on the land. We literally have just the background sets. We have background sets. All we've really got is us. The physical truth of this realm, this simulation, is that I am speaking to you. You are an independent consciousness, as am I, and we come through these vehicles. That is it. Yeah. Everything else we fucking don't know.
Yeah, now that's it. There really is, and that's a concept I sort of struggled with for a while, right? What the hell do you mean there's only now? But as you get into this, I think it becomes more evident there is only now, right? And we just sort of, it's just a point that we've got perspective from, and from that, a lot of people sort of think that that's scary, but it means that we can question everything, right? And it means that we're creators, and because it means that we're if we're in the now, we're potential, right? And we know that's what everything is, right? You break down, in the physical world, they break down all the atoms and that, and they hit ions, which is potential. That's literally the smallest they get. They can only describe it as potential energy. So if you're not in the now, you've decided, right? So there's no potential. This is how the past was. This is how the future will be. But if you're in the now, you're open, right? Wow, the past may not be true. The future is what I want it to be, what I'm going to create it. So that's a big thing is I think they're trying to tie us, this whole history thing. They try and tie us to timelines, and that kind of gets us out of the now, right, and into this linear time frame where the truth is, so we said before, you can't prove you didn't just pop into existence 3 seconds ago. Yeah. So if that's true, then what bearing has history even got? It's really just information, isn't it, to help us at this point and to push us forward. So that's why, all this arguing about, semantics and, blah, 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 it's not the question we're asking. It's got nothing to do with what we're doing here. It's how does this make us better people and push us forward? That's really what we're, and what the bloody hell is this place? Give me an answer.
We talk about, we talk about these suns that, it seems to be that there's more suns appear with a reset as due, Hang on. I just swallowed a fly.
I don't know why she swallowed a fly.
Oh my God, I just swallowed a fly.
You don't know why she swallowed a fly. Perhaps she'll die.
And that's it, you see, guys. I'm off grid now. I'm living off grid in the mud. I was looking at some of our earlier videos before, and I look so nice and kept in my hair, and I'm just like this fucking mud and shit in my hair, and flies going down my. How Australian. So what I was saying was, and actually, Campbell, you can put a little bit of a fun little image on top of me eating a fly just then.
Yeah.
So we talk about these two suns, right? We talk about these suns, and we're looking at them, and it's fascinating. There's all these videos on YouTube coming up of people from all over the world capturing these suns, and they seem to be denote a reset. But if we look at it from where we're talking today, like those suns are just background as well. Like they're just background. They're just set changes, right? They're nothing more than, essentially a virtual image that's being projected, which means like if we look at the fact that us, human consciousness in this vehicle, conceptually awake to Tartaria, meaning our antennas have turned on. We've seen potentially closer to who we are and where we came from. We've seen into the instructions or the codes from in the background to sort of give us a pathway into understanding more and more and more. Then the return of the sun could go back to that sentiment of the returns of the sons of man. Literally, we are, when a culture becomes aware of itself again, like is able to look into the game, look into the background game and actually become aware of itself again, then we see a sun appear, a literal set change. The set seems to alter in alignment with our consciousness, which is in contradiction to history, because history tells us that these things have been here long before you and I. So that history tells us that these structures, these buildings, they are solid, they've been here way before we were born. But in actual reality, have they? Have they? If nothing actually exists apart from a background video game, then have they? Are we actually, as you said before, are we bringing forward these realms into consciousness now? Like, I was watching a video from the 1920s. I just put it on the Facebook page. Fucking just these two chicks in the 1920s on a buggy going down like some epic city structure, epic Tartarian city. It was like San Francisco or somewhere. And I'm just thinking, like, this looks like I'm watching a movie. Like, now that I've come through the lens of Tartaria and everything we know, it looks like I'm watching a movie. Like, this is set. These people are just in a background set. I can't even actually equate them to being real now, like they even existed. And this is the 1920s.
It's just so weird, isn't it? Because, you look at the 1920s and what we're told is, that it would have been, 80, 90% would have been manual workers, right? There weren't many office jobs back then. But what do we see? Everyone's in a suit or a massive dress. No one's dressed for manual labour, and they're just driving around in circles and walking around with their umbrellas and parasols. And It's like they don't fit the narrative. They look literally like they're just walking around as backdrop people.
Warner Brothers, like a Warner Brothers movie set about the 1920s. It's weird.
And they don't look natural. And there's this whole thing of that, a lot of people, with the babies, don't look like they know what to do with kids or babies. They don't look like they know where they are half the time. And, half the time the clothes fit perfectly. The other half, they just don't fit at all. It's just this weirdness, but it doesn't match the story that we're given, that this was a time when they were building all these cities and building everything, and everyone was a manual worker. And you can imagine, half the people would have had to be in mining, right? Getting all the materials.
Yeah.
We don't see that. We don't see these. All they show us is some kids in factories. That's all we get, right? Barefoot kids in factories.
Yeah.
So it looks very much like a set, like, and we know the whole, I mean, look at the word we use, right? Reset. You rebuild the set, right? That's what a reset is.
Yep.
They just change the set.
Yep.
And is that the sun? The coming of the sun. Everyone's waiting for the coming, the return of the sun. And obviously there's Christian connotations, but SON, SUN. And the old sun was orange, right, which is a spectrum, and it's obviously a lower. If we're talking chakras, it's in the lower realms.
Yep.
But the white sun that we're seeing now, that's white, and white holds every color of the spectrum. So are we literally getting more information as these, is that where the information's coming from? Is that how they give us new information and reset, the simulation?
So if every reset, or at least the one, like, we can't even talk about every reset. Like, that's a theory. We're theorizing that there has been resets through history that we are now theorizing potentially didn't even happen, that we are theorizing that potentially is a program unto itself, that our only sense of like history really has come from our school books and what we can see it with our eyes, that everything out of that, it's just all like theory, that we in ourselves, I'm trying to think today, like if we were to say, take a picture of us today and like, say if we were in the 1920s, right? And we were living that weird, it always reminds me of the 13th floor. Where he goes into a virtual reality and they go into the 20s basically. And then he realizes into reality within a virtual reality within a virtual reality. Like, how did we even make those sorts of movies in the 80s? Like, conceptually, how did we even conceptualize, this consciousness that we're carrying now, talking about this, it wasn't really available in the 80s. Like, was it, Cambell, was it really, could we really get our head around, I mean, the internet was not even there. Could we get our head around a virtual reality within a virtual reality within a virtual reality? Like, the internet hadn't even sort of been innovated. Like, this context is crazy.
They introduce the concepts first, don't they? So now
they 100% do.
Even though we didn't understand in the 80s and 90s, but now from our perspective, we reference those shows back from the 80s and 90s.
Absolutely.
Look what they were saying.
Yep.
But at the time, we had no idea what they were saying. So it's like they're introducing some of the program, and for good or bad, right? And I think everything is both, right? And you can take out of it what you want.
We don't know who's running the program.
Nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it fun.
We don't know who's running the program.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know, but it does. So, I agree with you. Like, the information became before the consciousness, definitely.
Yeah. So it's like, we've been led down a certain path, and of course, a lot of people are going to say that's the powers that be trying to destroy us all, but is it? Or is it someone else going, hang on, there's powers that be that are trying to destroy you, wake up? That's just as valid a point as well, right? And I guess, we've got to choose what's the most empowering point of view. Because in the end, we don't know. We have to choose, right? It's like, what happens when we die? We don't know. But we've got all these stories and all this information. So at the end, we have to choose. And it's like, well, are we going to be victims, or are we going to be, gods? We're going to create this reality, or are we just going to be, someone's pawn? So,
from the few resets we could maybe say happened, there was a natural disaster. But, like, if we look at the information, sort of the narrative is that Tartaria didn't really need a natural... Tartaria, the only culture we know for sure existed in the realm was the Tartarian one we studied. That's the only one we know for sure. And they, seem to have got it together, spread across the whole realm, created beauty and astounding advancements. And they did that because they had time, that they didn't get interrupted by a natural disaster or a reset, which seems to be, and I think Jason actually talks about this a bit, seems to be denoted to be like a helping hand, not a calamity, but actually to help us slow down the progress of the takeover of this parasitic energy. That there is an actual parasitic energy that has lowered the frequency so dramatically that the only thing that could be done in order to support us, by whom we don't know, when we don't know, and why we don't know, but to help us was to basically at every, what's 138 years, The
Yep.
Phoenix, yep, Jason calls it the Phoenix, that there is a natural disaster, which basically resets the background, enables the reprogramming, and sort of it all starts again. And that just stops, and that's not for our benefit. That stops the parasitic energy from advancing so extremely that it's impossible to basically, is the word free us even correct? I mean, I can't even know if that's the right language anymore. Are we trying to be free of this? Did we come down here purposefully? Therefore, is the point to be free? Or is there another point to this? What's the point?
What's the point? I know, what's the point? This is the thing. I mean, obviously, I've thought about that question a lot. And it just seems to be, I mean, again, it comes down to choice, right? What do you want to believe? What's the best for you? I think we're here to learn and grow, right? To work stuff out, to be more of who we are and to hone our perspective, right? Not get caught up in the, in the crap. The way Jason, he sort of looks at it like as a school almost, it's like driving school, right? You don't, like I said, you don't give a 14-year-old a Ferrari, right? You make sure they can drive. You put them in school and you test them, and when they're ready to drive, you're like, okay, now you can go up to the level where there's Ferraris. And is that what this is? Are we getting ready for our God suit, right? Because you don't give superpowers to people who can't control themselves. Is that what we're learning here? Control, right? Because look what's going on. People are so reactive. They love to point the finger and it's your fault. And you can imagine if these people could bring the blue orbs of light up and start throwing them at each other, I mean, it wouldn't be a good situation, would it? So clearly a lot of us have got to grow, we've got to grow, right? We've got to become more to handle these powers.
But Campbell, don't we also talk also often about us being like these fallen gods or these superhero beings which would denote the idea that we already have all of that this is something else. We had them,
but why did we fall though? What's the falling? Did we have it? And that's the story of Atlantis as well, isn't it? They had all this stuff, they had all the tech, but they got big egos and started thinking they were better, and they ended up destroying themselves. So we have those. If we have our license and we went out and started doing donuts in the middle of the street, right? And the cops like, you go back for more training, buddy.
Well, I mean, it's a tough one because, if we were already these evolved God beings that came back here deliberately to help break through this parasitic hijacking, that's always what the light workers talk about, always, that, we're part of the crew that came down here it's a rescue mission, basically. Which means that we are, but it seems to be weird because at the end of the day, it's like we're rescuing ourselves. So it's a weird paradox. We came down here on a rescue mission, but we are having to rescue ourselves because we're not really trying to rescue everyone else, because we've even given everyone else a term, which is the NCPs, which is basically we're kind of saying that, they're here as the background for us anyway. So do you see the paradox within the paradox? On one level, we're told that we were these crazy, that we are the best of the best that have come down here to help on this rescue mission. When we get down here, we end up being, it's all about us rescuing ourselves and not really rescuing anyone else. And at the same time, we're meant to be here to see through this game, but that's the only way out of it. But we came down here knowing that, it's a weird paradox. We're meant to rescue who from what? If we didn't need to be here for our own gain, then what is actually the purpose? And are we the ones that are trapped? Yeah. And are we just rescuing each other? And are we the ones that don't get it? And it's very confusing.
It's very confusing when you start to really get into it. And it's like the 13th floor. you know, they had that whole world built, right? But the people who built it and were using it, they were literally just using it like a video game, right? They just go in a couple of hours a day and it was a game, just play around. Oh, yeah. But to the people in there, it was real. They thought it was real.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I mean, that's sort of, that movie skews the line a bit because it never really explains where consciousness comes from. It's just like, oh, well, they just got conscious, right? Oh, and that's the next question, you know, is consciousness created? You know, easily. We're told it's this really, really hard thing to create and that it never, you know, it just is, right? It's never born, never dies. But is that true? We don't know. But you said we could be in anything from, you know, people who have just made a game and they've somehow plugged into it, you know, and then something's gone wrong. And it's like, oh, crap, we need to go in and unplug these people so they don't have a meltdown in their brain. Or it could be something that we've chosen to do, you know, let's do this because we need to learn something. Or it could be a rescue mission, right? There could be another world down there, or, you know, like different reality levels where we've, you know, seen that something's been taken over and we're like, well, these dudes they're not getting it. Let's go in and help them. So, but I think this is the thing. We're not going to know the answer. I don't know that we can know the answer from the perspective of being in here. You know, they say we're in the 3D world. Who knows, right? Might be in 4D because they say we're going to 5D. So how we jump 4D, you know, how does that happen? But in the end, I think it comes down to choice, right? If we don't have the answer, we're not going to be able to get the answer. So we kind of need to choose what are we going to do. And I think when we do that, then we become the creator again, right? So if you choose that you're powerful and that you are a God and you're here to change the world, you're going to do it. You know, you're definitely not going to do it if you think I'm just an accountant or whatever they think, right? You're not going to do anything.
So, like, if we take the 13th floor, like, let's start. I mean, that's good. The 13th floor is good for anyone who hasn't watched it. Come on, go get that movie. But basically, they create a virtual realm within their own realm, which is essentially, I guess, kind of like our internet. But they go into it. They can go into put themselves in this machine. They can go into it. They arrive at a body. It's basically like they're a walk-in someone's body, don't they? They walk into someone else's body, and then they're in that life and living that life. Now, if that's what's happened to us in that video, can you imagine if the people who entered the game that way ran around telling everyone that this was a virtual reality and this isn't even real? Like, if they ran around in that.
Well, I mean, we've seen what happens, right?
Yeah, people go
it's like
mad.
Bill Hicks, he's got that joke, right? Every now and again, people come down and they tell us it's just an illusion, and we kill those people.
Yeah. And they did that in that game too. They just couldn't believe it. They were just like, I can't believe it. So they go down, we come down, tell them it's all a simulation. They freak out, don't understand how this is going to make their lives any better, kill the messenger or censor the messenger or whatever. And then they come out of the game into the realm that they live in, only to realize that in itself is yet another virtual reality, and they're in another game, and they also have walk-ins that come in and hijack their vehicles. And, you know, I mean, is that what dreams are? I mean, we don't fucking know. Like, honestly, we don't even know. Are we just biological beings that have been hijacked that way? Like, is there an operator of Kelly Jones or Cambell Purvis that's in the realm above us? And is that all consciousness is? Is it just virtual realm? Again, I don't even know if virtual realm is the right word, but just for the concept. Like, are we just in a virtual realm, infinite? And is that what the multi-dimensions are? Like, is that what we like talk Inception. To? Exactly. Inception. I mean, fucking hell, that's just even trippier because that's just a dream world. Like, that's just layers and layers and layers of the dream world.
Yeah, it gets a lot into the time. You know, like we experience this as whatever, you know, 50, 60, whatever years. But literally it could be 5 seconds, right, to the outside world. You know, literally it could be like, oh, God, there's a glitch in this thing. Quick, let's go fix it. And it could be a 5-10 second thing. But we're so many layers down that we experience is as this big drawn out thing over thousands of years, where it's really just someone going, oh crap, restart computer or whatever, right? We just
Okay.
And this is the thing, and I think, you know, when you get into this, you know, it's like we've been talking about, you know, it's the question, right? The quest is much more important than the answer. So I think it all comes down to we've got to choose, you know, what our quest is. You know, we're going to choose to be the accountant and get annoyed and yell and just defend the, you know, the system and the solidity. Or we're going to believe in ourselves and just have fun and do what we want, right? And live outside the rules.
But you're driven, Campbell.
Create something different.
You're very driven to this work, as am I. We're very driven in this work, like, and it appears to be leading us to, it's not like it's a dead end. It's just like it becomes very heady at this point. Like one of the great joys of the whole Tartarian, you know, consciousness has been to actually be able to physically see it with your own eyes. So that has been a great joy to me, that I can go into these cities and, you know, you and I are going to spend a couple of weeks together really looking at some of these structures in these cities around me. And like, that's a joy because it's out of our headiness. It's out of this lofty, and we're like heading straight back in there to questions like that are very hard to actually evidence and do anything with. Like, at what point can we like pack this up and go, fucking yeah, all right, we get it now. This is it. Great. Thank you. That was a great ride. We get it. Okay, Campbell, like, you know, what's next? Like, at what point is it death? Is it this term ascension? And even ascension feels a bit fucking, I don't know what. Ascension feels a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe we're just here to get other people to ask questions, you know, because there's definitely, you know, we are definitely never going to hit a point where we're like, oh, of course. That's the answer.
You don't
Look,
think?
it's all written down for us. Here it is.
Like,
you know,
it's not the number 42.
Never going to happen, right?
It's not 42.
No, it's not number 42.
Shit.
No. And so what is the point of it, right? What is the point?
Yeah.
Is it the point? Is the point for other people, maybe not for us? Because like you said, you know, like my first memory literally was, you've dropped me in the wrong place. Come and get me. This place is crazy. Come back and get me. Like literally from day dot, that was my first thought, is there's something wrong going on here. So yeah, what does that mean? Like, who are, you know, those weird people, right? And why do some people have that? Because you ask a lot of people and they're like, yeah, man, yeah, from day dot, I knew it. And other people are like, no, I only woke up a year ago. Like, they were literally believing, right, the story and believing all this stuff, which just does my head in. I don't even know how to, because I've never had that thought in my life. I've literally never had that thought. Oh, this is life. This is how it works. Oh, I should do this. My thoughts are always like, you guys are insane.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, what is that difference? What is that difference? And are we waking people up? Can people really wake up? Is it just NPCs just trying to, you know, confirm our beliefs in ourselves? This is the thing. And again, we hit this circle, don't we? Every question, we can't hit these circles where I think we've just got to decide what the future is. Maybe we could, who knows? Is deciding maybe more important than having questions? Who knows? Maybe we just need to go, well, we decide it's going to be this, and we focus on that, and it creates it.
I mean, Campbell, are you having fun? Is this fun?
Yes, well, I'm happy.
This is the best fun.
You've got to do something while you're down here. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
sitting in an office, you know.
I mean, it's compounded. It's compounded by the fact that you've got to make a living and you've got to worry about all this other crap and like there's all this other stuff. It's compounded. That compounds everything. But at the end of the day, if we were just left alone to hang out and just like talk about and understand all of it, that would be super fun for us. We would get into it, right? Yeah. Like you know, but I mean, anyway, you know, when we talk about this concept of the, I guess the ascension timeline, which is basically all, if I had to sum up my theory of everything so far as related to that, I would go with the idea that you need to awaken yourself. You need to be a part of the return of the Son of Man. You need to be conscious of that movement in order for a frequency shift to take place within yourself at the moment of that reset, which Jason put at 2040. Then at that point, like, you're able to basically see that black hole above our heads. You're basically you've got the choice of freedom to shift frequency bands. Like, and like, as far as I can figure it out, that's like winning the game. That's like getting to the end of this game, like that you are able to move to that next level as a result of your consciousness broadcasting literally as the Tartarian antenna that you are in this walking building that you are, this steampunk manifestation. Like, how cool is it, the idea that you're all walking Tartarian architecture? You're literally the architecture of the old realm, and you're walking around, and you've got to like have a frequency broadcast capacity to relate to that channel shift, that radio shift, to be able to ride the waves out of here. Literally.
Yeah. They're buildings, right? And
isn't it interesting?
Ourselves up too, right?
That you say like sound waves and radio waves, and it's all about water above our heads and below us. Like, it's all about waves, the water, the waves, frequency, sound, broadcast. Yeah. So that to me is like.
Yeah.
So how much of that? Of that do you have to do to get to literally change the radio station?
To me, I think this is about us learning who we are, right? It's almost like, you're going to believe yourself, or you're going to believe the TV. You're going to believe in yourself, or you're going to believe everyone else's opinion about you. You know, because this is what we see, right? Like, people, we've got so much stuff, and it's the people who go, no, this is all bullshit. I'm the crowd. I'm here for myself. I'm going to use my power. They're the ones who get stuff done, not the people who believe the system, right? So, and this is why we get hammered so much. Every time you decide, no, bugger it, I create my reality, I'm going off to do something, you know, the system, the program goes, really? Boom, 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 boom. And most people think that as, oh, it's such an evil, bad world. Well, maybe that's just the system going, are you serious? Are you serious? Yeah. Are you serious? Because how often do we hear people say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and they do nothing, right? So, you know, I think if we take this back to ourselves, I think, and how else are we going to, you know, what other choice do we have, right, but to take it back to ourselves? Because we can only see our own perspective. So clearly, this is, you know, for us, and everyone's going to have a different perspective on it. But yeah, for me, I believe it's all about believing in yourself, becoming more of yourself. And it's this whole concept of becoming the gods again, right? Understanding that's who you are. And you can imagine a god isn't going to go, yes, I'm a god. And then everyone around them go, ha, no, you're not, you idiot. The god's not going to go, oh, whoops, sorry. He's going to go,
exactly.
Little blue balls. You know,
exactly.
So we've got to believe. We've got to hit that place where we believe, and until we hit that place, we can't create. We can't create this new world unless we believe we can. So
or be a frequency match to go from that channel to the new channel. Yeah. So I mean, it's like I had a really cool. Sorry, go on.
No, you go. I was just saying yes.
Hey, we've done pretty good today. Yeah. We've done pretty good. We haven't had many delays. So I was going to say that the 2 nights ago I had an amazing dream on that blood moon eclipse, and like, let's not even get started on eclipses. Like, WTF are they? Anyway, on this night of the eclipse, I had this awesome dream where I decided that I could walk on water, and in this I was conscious in this. It was very lucid. I was very conscious in the dream, and I was actually like literally. I just have to know I can do it in my dream. I just have to know I can walk on water. And so I just knew it in my dream. I remember consciously just knowing it and then running into the ocean. And I could feel it. It was like running on watery puddles. Like, I was literally felt like I could feel it. My feet, they were like connecting with solid, flat ground, but there was water squashing about it just a little bit. And I actually got the full hit and experience and feeling of walking on the ocean, walking on water. And in the dream, I was like, oh my God, this is a fucking miracle, man. I'm walking on water, and all I had to do was know it. And that was my dream. And I woke up thinking, yeah, man, what a cool dream for the blood moon. Like, but how, like, you know, to know it in my dream, I wasn't limited by any doubt in my dream. It was just a clear-cut path. There was nothing realistic preventing me from thinking. But, man, I can get the power of that. I get the power of that, Campbell. Like, when we know it, reality is just a simulation. It truly is just a simulation. Yeah. That's why this whole Tartarian consciousness has, like, gone so far so quickly, because people are just freaking knowing it. We just fucking know it now. We just know it. We know it. Like, there's no one that could convince us otherwise. All that could happen at this point was, you know, we just know that it's like, it's a simulation. Like, and maybe there's something past knowing a simulation. Maybe there's something past that. But as far as what we know to date, we know it, you know? Yeah.
Well, I mean, going back to, what was the author? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, Douglas Adams.
In there, it says that when Douglas Adams, when it says that it says when you work out what this place is, then it'll disappear, and something more complex will appear in its place, right? So, well, you know, like, so you know, this is the thing. What are we here working out?
I mean, that's so true.
Yeah,
it's got
isn't
more
it?
complex.
I mean, and that's just the next level going up, really, isn't it? It's like, and that's kind of what we hear when we understand. Oh, it's just a simulation. This is what level 1 is.
Yeah,
you beat it, right? You get to go to level 2.
Yeah,
and,
so
and
we
I
kind
think
of
that's what it is, you know. But the program wants to keep you in level 1 because it wants to make sure you're ready for level 2.
Yeah, by stressing you out. If
it can hold you back in level 1, then you're not ready for level 2. Yeah.
I mean, it stresses you out.
Or
that's all it's designed to do.
We wake up in the med beds or whatever they are.
This levels keeps you glued here by stress, worry, bills, mortgages. That's the level of the frequency that holds you to it, and you feel fucking bound to it. It's not like you can go, screw the mortgage, screw the getting groceries, screw like my responsibility. You can't do it. It's just like, well, you could do it, but you'd end up like basically dying. So it's really annoying how it stresses the body out that way. But it is true. Like, Tartaria felt like a breath of fresh air for me when we started, because it felt like it didn't get more complicated. It got more obvious. It got more simplified. It made more sense. But as we have gone through all of the debunking of it, we now are at another complicated level. Like, now we're at a complexion. We have taken the word simulation, not that we really understand what that is. We've taken the word, you know, ascension. We don't understand what that is. We've taken the word reset. We don't understand what that is. We last show was on the trumpets and the sound in the sky. We can bring all these little bits of evidence, this trail, but ultimately we don't understand what it is. It's got complex again, you know, like the idea of the sky turning off and machines behind it. That's complicated. You know, everything past once you hit the word simulation, it becomes complex again. Would you not agree?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you just and this is the thing why we're never going to get answers, right? We know with every question, you just get more questions. You know, the more I know, I don't know, kind of thing. And I guess that's, you know, that scares a lot of people. But yeah, once you hit simulation, you know, you've just got many more possibilities, right?
And again, it's lofty again. It's lofty again.
Yeah, it takes you out of this physical space, right? And this is the thing, you know, you sort of mentioned, you know, money, we've got all these laws and things, but maybe they're just the rules of level 1, right? Because it's supposed to be restrictive, because we're supposed to learn that we are the power and we're not supposed to be restricted. So all this yelling about, you know, oh my God, we have to change this and these people are evil. Maybe that's not, you know, maybe that's not the game. Maybe we have to, you know, just play this level well and understand what it is. And then, you know, when we want to change, we just move up to the next level, which has different rules and different boundaries, right? So, because we see it all the time, right? Oh, you know, money sucks. I hate money. It's the system. But then you see these people's lives and it's them they're hurting. That's them that's going without, right? So how does that make any sense? You know? So mate, I think we need to. There are rules, right? There's rules of this realm.
I mean, we don't. Yeah, I agree. There are rules of this realm, but if they go past this, we don't know. Another question mark. And also, we don't know if the sort of moving beyond this level is connected to a reset, if it's connected to death, if it's connected to, this like hitting this glorious epiphany of consciousness. We don't know that. We don't know that. We don't know the process. All we know is that this lifetime, whatever this lifetime even is, if this is our first, all of our focus on past lives, we don't even know if they exist, if they're just part of the program, or if they were totally real in another reality, or if they weren't in another reality, if they were just like, if they were true and actual, like we don't know any of that. And I think for me, probably from this point on, to make it tangible again, even though this seems like a paradox again, is again to go back to the dream world, the dreaming, the lucid dreaming, the dreaming, what's happening when we're asleep, what are dreams, like they feel tangible. If we look at ourselves as a Tartarian building, our bodies, our consciousness, if we look at ourselves as that, then the dream world is something super important and special. Now, if we look at the Tartarian architecture, Cambell, and then donate a dreaming to it, like what would that look like? How have we seen evidence of the Tartarian buildings dreaming? You get what I'm saying? Would that be steampunk?
Yeah, as a fractal thing. Yeah. Well. Yeah, right. And this is the steam, which is water, which is like breath, I guess, right? It's water and breath in one. And of course they took that away and they try and convince us that everything was coal.
Yeah.
But clearly they're just burning coal in steam engines, right? And that's why we have all these pictures of all these steam trains that they put coal in and they just blow up, right? And so literally they've changed the ether, right, with dirty physical coal, because that's what water is, right? Which is steam. That's the ether, right? And we've discussed that could literally be God. It has everything that has consciousness has to have water. Water is information, and so that's what they were running off. And then it was like, no, Santa Claus, right? You've been a bad boy. Now you get a lump of coal.
Yeah. So if the buildings themselves are us, I'm just going to go on this phase for a second. If the buildings are us and we're the buildings, if the Tartarians are the buildings and we are the Tartarians, if they are they're just a background mirror of who we are, if we're the real architecture, if we're the real buildings, if we're the real antennas, we're the real vessels, then our dreaming is really important, because that means that something's going on there that would have also gone on for the actual buildings. And we've done it. We've filled in a bit of the dreaming of the Tartarian culture. We filled in the crystal cities. We filled in the airborne civilization. We filled in the steampunk movement. Like, we've literally filled in and the beauty of the paintings and the artwork and the music, all of that is part of the dreaming capabilities of this culture, architectural culture.
So is the dreaming like literally the commune, right? Like the community, people getting together in these buildings, and
it has to be something like
listening
that.
To a choir, chanting, having a similar thought and getting similar inspiration, right?
Yes.
It's kind of the same concept of a dream, right? You're getting this information coming in, and then they take it to the outside world.
And half of the world is asleep at the same time. So, and it's interesting that we're driven to have these alive events and literally bring the people together into that dreaming space. Like, it is communal. Like, the Tartarian architecture lends itself to community, communal dreaming, communal theories.
And the bells,
consciousness,
right? The bells.
Yeah.
Bells are from waking up.
Exactly.
Wake up. We still have alarm.
Yes, the alarm
bells, right? Bells.
Yes.
Yeah. So you do your communion, you're getting inspired, and then you wake up, go back to the world.
Very interesting. We haven't drawn this sort of parallel before, but it's definitely I would think it's definitely probably worth us considering in relation to where we are with the simulation.
The fractals, yeah.
We've spent a lot of time, and
I think
it's
everything's a fractal. We can go up to the we can go up to the dome, right? Like, how many domes around there have literally got, gods and that painted on them, or stars? It's literally, they're saying that that's the dome.
I mean, we've spent a lot of time now using our eyes to look in the external environment, only to then arrive back at the simulation, which then puts all the eyes back onto what are we, and then it gets lofty again. So I think if we would take the 2 years of studying Tartaria, and then imagine that we are actually it, with that we are the Tartarian that we are studying, then how would you parallel those two realms? It's really interesting.
I mean, it's almost like, we're studying ourselves, right? So it's kind of, we're going inside, right? but without, but we think we're not. We think it's a physical thing that we're studying, but of course we're studying ourselves. So
exactly,
and that's the thing, right? How many people? This is another question. Right? How many people are even down here, right? Yeah. Is it just one of us, or is there?
I know.
Split consciousnesses, or that's and that's a whole nother. So I think what we are, we're in a realm of questions for sure, not answers.
A realm of quests. Well, look, if we were to summarize our theory of everything so far, Campbell, I guess from my perspective, I would say we've spent the last 2 years studying this thing called Tartaria. We've termed it Tartarian consciousness. We've gone through the buildings, the power, the mud floods, the reset. That's led us to questioning the sun. That's led us to looking through the artwork and looking at the history. That's led us to questioning everything about history. That's led us to understanding history has been edited and cut in. And that has brought us to the conclusion that history may not even has ever been real, that there may never have actually been a physical, tangible history, that the only history we know about, the only culture we know about is Tartaria, whatever the real word for that is. It's the only one. There's no evidence of anyone else. That's why all the buildings across the realm are exactly the same across the entire realm, that they seem to have, a very long time of thriving on this realm. They seem to have a lot of time to advance and to grow and to express and to evolve, time that we've never been given, time that seems to be taken away by as a counteractive force by this parasitic energy. That time is everything. If you've got 1,000 years of time to create a beautiful culture and advanced technology and that's all we see evidence of. Everything else is just filled in. The Egyptian culture's filled in, the Asian culture's filled in, the Indian culture's filled in, the Greeks, the Roman, all of that's just filled in from, 1 day of study at school, not even a week's worth in a lot of cases, So if that's what we know so far, then we've arrived at the conclusion that the purpose of all of this study and all of this passionate investigation is to get us to once again turn our eyes back onto ourselves in this realm and who are the players and what game are we actually playing.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. We've just got to, remember we're not the bartender, right? In the video game, we're actually supposed to be the hero. We're supposed to be out there playing the game, not sort of going around being a background figure. So yeah, I think it's all about questions, learning more about us. And of course, we've just done all this time and all we've done is create more questions, right? Because there's not really many answers out here, but we've also been taught that answers are the way forward, but I don't think they are. I think questions are. As soon as you get an answer, then you shut yourself down, right?
Yes.
As soon as something's right or wrong, good or bad, whatever, then you can't put any more information into that. You shut yourself down. So, maybe that's a big part of it.
Well, I mean, ultimately, all we ever do is find new questions.
Believe in ourselves. It's to make us do something. It's to make us leave the system and not be another, sheep going around in circles. It's pulling us so hard, come be part of the system. But that's all just to make us go, no, don't want to. Well, that's how I see it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we can leave this show on today is the grand conclusion of our theory of everything so far is there's a shitload of questions than answers.
We're as confused as you.
And I managed to swallow a fly.
It's great religion. Exactly. So I'll have to cue the song there. Why she swallowed a fly. Yeah, so there you go, guys.
I don't know. Did we actually say anything for the last hour and 40? I don't even know.
No, I don't know. We didn't promise any answers, so we have to live it, I think. You know.
I think
this is what this whole topic is.
Yeah.
For us, it's about questioning and questions and expanding. It's not about getting answers and going, yeah, great, now we can compartmentalize that, lock it away in a book and go forward. It's not about that. It's about proving people wrong or right. It's about learning more about who we are. That's literally it.
Yeah, and you know, I find value in us just sitting here and I guess exposing our raw conversations because, you know, like Cambell and I never actually sit down and plan these shows. Like they're very raw and open, and we just engage the conversation, and you know, just like you would around a campfire. Sometimes you just talk shit, and sometimes there's gold that comes out of it, and you know, we know the value in sharing it with our audience because, you know, so much of the quandering we have is your quandering as well. And so much of these conversations are yours also. So I love that we get to broadcast into people's lounge rooms and go on these rambling conversations for an hour. Yeah. I see value in them. I like it. And I like being raw enough to, you know, start talking and forget what I'm saying or like going down a cul-de-sac of my thoughts. I
think everyone's got questions, you know, so even just listening to people who have got questions, you know, makes you feel like less of a weirdo, shall we say. So, you know, that's it. You know, it's just really about getting information. And to me, you know, all this stuff really, I mean, if you cut it all down, I really just want people to ask a different question. That's really what it's all about. You know, if you can ask a different question, you can think a different thought. If you think a different thought, you will act differently. If you act differently, you get something different. Yeah. Right, so that's it. We just, you know, we're not here to give you answers or tell you who you are or what the realm is, but we want you to ask better questions for yourself. And
in order to say that, Cambell, we have to like definitely be doing that ourselves. So I mean, I guess today it's been interesting for me, you know, looking at us as the Tartarian buildings, like actually turning the last 2 years back onto myself, as in, what would that look like? What does that mean? How do we operate the same? I'm really interested in that. I think we should probably delve into that a bit deeper, but like, yes, I think we'll conclude it here at this location. So everyone, look, Cambell and I are coming to Rockhampton next weekend on the 20th of November. And you know what I've discovered, Cambell, which is cool, right? That if you're in Brisbane, you can catch a train to Rockhampton. It's a 7-hour trip, which is kind of cool because you get to like actually see the whole upper coastline of Australia, which I've never seen properly. And it's only like $150 to like catch, well, even cheaper than that, it's $100 to catch the train from Brisbane to Rockhampton. So if any one of our Brisbane Northern Rivers tribe wants to have like a weekend, like of a magical mystery tour weekend and catch the train to Rockhampton and join us at the pub for the talk and then catch the train back, you're fucking welcome. Hey, like it's the same deal like what we always do. It's a cool venue, it's a pub, it's, you know, food and drink, and get to like meet Cambell, which I know a lot of you haven't had the chance to do because he has, you know, he's trapped in Perth. Like it's a big deal getting him out of there.
I know, right? I know, it's becoming a problem, isn't it? I need an airship that just goes back across the Motherboard.
But anyway, we did it. We've got him out of there. He's coming.
I'm coming. Links below if you want to get tickets. Check out the train. Have a weekend away. You know, get up to the nice warm weather. Yeah. Meet some more, you know, open-minded people. And of course, like this video, share it, hit the bell for notifications. And yeah, share it around, guys. If you know anyone in those areas, let them know. Because obviously, we want to get as many people as we can. We've still got some tickets left. So yeah, we hope to see you all there.
Excellent. All right, Campbell. Well, cool chewing the cud with you, buddy. And I will be picking you up in Brisbane Wednesday next week. Okay, you ready? Again, I booked all this and he doesn't even know about it yet.
No, not at all. I'll just turn up. Something will happen.
Yes. All right, guys. Lots of love.
So yeah, have an awesome day, guys.
Have an excellent week. We'll see you next week. See you guys.